Hi everybody, it's me Andrew. I'm here in Ligonier in my home studio. This is a little bit different than our normal setup. Usually we're set up at the shop, but we're getting ready for a big trip. So we thought it might be nice to show you the finished product of our hard work. We still have a little bit of work to go. We're going to add a couple more pieces and touch up some paint and do a little bit of finessing, but it's a lot better. If you saw on New Year's Day, I think it was New Year's Day, I took a picture or a short video of this little corner, and it was a disaster. So this is a little bit better. Actually, it's a lot better. And so hopefully we'll have more videos right here from my home in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. So today, let me rewind a little bit. The last time we had met up and did our unboxing for the Clockwork Swallow kit, special kit, Laurel had mentioned that, and you know that you can see I don't have anybody with me, just me and William, and the cats. But I think they're nervous, so they probably won't come around. But anyways, so Laurel had mentioned that it would be a while until her next kit, because I'm going to be leaving for about a month. So we were like, oh, wow, that's quite a while. So we wanted to get one more in before I left. I'm going to be going down to Asheville, and then we're going to have a road trip out to Tucson. We're going to do a little show in Asheville and do some shopping there. Hopefully post some good things online. William will go back, and I will stay there. And then me and Cynthia, my sister, we're going to go on a road trip across the country, getting up to no good, and seeing maybe the world's largest ball of twine, if it's along the way. And we're going to be going to Tucson. We're going to be at the Whole Beach Show at the Viscount Suites Inn. If you know Ava Motherwell, she's really awesome, and we really enjoy doing her show. That's from February 1st to February 5th. And so then we drive back, and then hopefully we're going to have a little trip in New York, but I don't want to say too much right now because I don't want to jinx it. But fingers crossed, hopefully Tucson will be good, and we'll be able to do, I guess it's a vacation. I mean, we'll do stuff while we're there that's work, but I really want to go to see the Frida exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum and see the jewelry show at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I think it's called Heavenly Bodies. And there's a brief window of time where I can see both exhibits. So hopefully that will work out. So that will be in the middle of February around Valentine's Day. So speaking of Valentine's Day, you might have noticed a little short story on my personal Facebook page, and I can imagine that came a little bit out of left field because I don't really post fiction on my timeline. I do a lot of writing, but not necessarily that sort of writing. So it's a little bit of a departure for me, but something that I've always enjoyed, and hopefully others enjoy it as well. But for me, when I'm putting together the kits, I like to have kind of a little story in my mind. And I feel like that kind of story or touchstone kind of grounds you in your color palettes and your theme and your intention. And we had talked last time about doing a Valentine's Day themed kit. And I didn't want to do kind of the traditional kit or colors. And I kind of, I'm always wanting to do a little bit different than what's kind of expected. So instead of doing something that was classic, I wanted to do something that was almost retroly antique style classic. So the kit that we came up with is called Love Letters. And if you read the short story, it makes sense. You don't have to read the short story, but if you do, I think it adds a little extra. It doesn't necessarily have to be a part of your design. The story is kind of specific. I kind of left some parts vague and some parts more specific, just so that it could kind of have an emotional resonance that I think people can connect to a little bit easier than me just saying, here's some Valentine's Day colors. Which is perfectly fine. But I wanted to do something that had a little bit of kind of an emotional gusto to it, kind of a little bit of a oomph. So if you go to my personal Facebook page, you can see the short story. You can also see the short story if you go to the online store. If you go to www.allegorygallery.com, go to the online store, go down to the design kit challenges. Then you can see the Love Letters kit, and the short story is the first part, and the rules of how to participate are also included. But basically the story, William will read it to you. But first let me show you the kit. And we're working with some unusual lighting, and we haven't quite figured out how we're going to light this for the future. So if there's some kind of weird shadows and stuff, we apologize in advance, but hopefully you'll be able to see everything. So this kit includes 2 strands of check glass. They're the fire polish, is that 4 millimeter or 3 millimeter?
Those are 4 or 5.
So those are the fire polish check glass. We've got some vintage plastic, some waxed Irish linen, vintage seed beads, vintage glass, some gold-plated pewter, Swarovski crystal. Now there are 2 different hole orientations on the Swarovski crystals. One is a bead and the other is more of a charm. There are also some more Swarovski crystals. If you're into the colors, that's Siam. We've got some, this was called ruby quartz back in the day. I think it's just a leaded glass that has a super saturated of color, which is really intense. And if you look at under certain lights, it can almost look velvety, which is kind of wild. There's some more vintage check glass. There's some vintage plastic. This is called river stone. It's one of those terms, it's kind of one of those nondescript, it could be anything kind of stone. But there you go, river stone. A strand of some more river stone, and of course the luxury bead blend. Now the luxury bead blend, if you take a look, has a lot of goodies in it. I'll show you the big container here of all of the mix. Now if you take a look, there's freshwater pearls, there's more crystal, there's vintage glass, there's vintage plastic, there's coral, there's wood, there's glass pearls, there's all kinds of yummy, delightful goodness. And these things that kind of look like teeth, this is called a burry nut. And that's kind of B-U-R-I, and it's pretty neat. It's kind of one of those faux ivories that's like a vegetable ivory, like tagua nut or something like that. So that's what, oh, and last but not least is the mystery component. This is basswood. We cut it with the laser, and it's pretty neat. It kind of relates to the short story. So I'm going to be kind of quick tonight because I'm by myself and it's not quite as much fun when there isn't that kind of social banter going on. You guys are going to be like, oh boy, I can't watch him for 2 hours just talking by himself to the camera. Who's out there, William?
We have, let's see, watching now, I'm showing Lily.
Oh, hi.
Anna Pearson.
Hello.
Nettie.
Hi.
Donna Hoblet.
Howdy.
Gloria Allen.
Hello.
Let's see, who else? Oh, I'm frozen up here.
Well, hello to everybody.
Marilyn Philippi.
Hi.
Laurie McGinnis.
Hi.
Paula Robinson Beck says hello.
Hello.
Gloria says hi to everybody.
So if you haven't been following along with our Facebook page, which would be kind of weird because you're here now, we are doing a 31-day challenge for January. It's called Bead in the New Year with Allegory Gallery. So we've come up with a fun calendar, all kinds of goodies, and there's 31 prompts. You can start from day one and work your way up, or you can jump in the middle. You can work from the back forward. You can do whatever you like. You can do the ones you like. You can do the ones you don't like to challenge yourself. This is supposed to be fun. I know there's a lot of people who kind of are apprehensive. I'm one of those people. Deadlines, my goal in life is to eliminate all deadlines in my life and make it just where I run through the fields with the cats and we sing songs and I'll ride on a deer and the cats will run alongside me and there'll be rainbows and ribbons and fun stuff like that and no deadlines. In this magical world of cookies that are shaped like stars and they fall from the sky and I collect them and eat them and enjoy them. There'll be no deadlines. But sometimes it's good to have a little bit of structure. And I feel like the challenges, I've done them before with other places and other prompts, and they've really been helpful. Mab Graves, she does one in October called Drawloween, which is really fun. I drew stuff that I didn't really finish because life in October is kind of busy for us, and it's probably one of our busier months where it's ramping up for the holiday season and Halloween, and it's just a really busy time. So I did as many as I could, but even though I only did a handful, I think I learned a lot from those, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's nice to take time to make something. So often as makers and small business owners, particularly as small business owners, we get so caught up in the mechanics of making the creative machine work, and it kind of eats into your ability to create. And that's one of the hardest things for me is balancing all of the back end of stuff with the actual making. I'm lucky because I have William, and he is a guru with technology and spreadsheets, and he handles the storefront and almost pretty much everything. And I do more of the big planning, kind of big picture planning and making. And so I'm lucky because I have him, but before he was able to work at the shop full time, I was really doing a lot of this myself. So it was really hard for me, and I won't lie, it was very challenging because there was just a constant pressure to keep everything running smoothly, making sure everybody was happy. and make stuff too. And when you feel that kind of impending doom, it can be soul crushing, and it's not a fun experience. Like I would make things and I would say, would I have made this if I didn't have to make this? And a lot of the times it would be no. It wasn't something that spoke to my heart. So I wanted to get away from that, and I was able to do that. And I feel like I want others to be able to take at least an hour, even half an hour, even 15 minutes of time just for yourself to make something, whether it's a pair of earrings or it's a simple pendant. Do something creative and do something that's going to nurture your heart and nurture your art and make you kind of be able to explore your creativity and do it for yourself. And I feel like when you connect to that spark, if you've been watching Tidying Up, if it sparks joy, then do that. And when you do that, I feel like others are engaged more. They can sense it when you are kind of bound up and kind of in turmoil, and they can also sense it when you're creating from a place of love and you're creating from a place of joy. So I encourage you to take some time for yourself, participate in the challenge if you can, do the ones that you want, but try to make some time for yourself every day to create, even if it's just a line that you draw on a piece of paper. I had a professor in college, and he used to draw a line every day. And obviously, if he had more time, he would do more elaborate drawings, but he would draw a line, and he said it was to remind himself every day that he was an artist. So you don't have to necessarily draw a line every day, but if you want to make a pair of earrings or even look at your things, I mean, there's so much that happens inside of your mind that sometimes the designing and all of that, there are worlds within your own kind of mind. I'm listening to the series of books by Charles DeLint, and it's urban fantasy, and it's the Newford series. And one of the books that I listened to was all about how one of the characters got in this terrible accident, and she's a painter and she could no longer paint anymore, but she would take time to paint the images she wanted to paint, but do it in her mind. And so she had a wonderful kind of landscape in her mind populated by the images that she created and captured. And I feel it's important to build up this kind of memory palace where you are able to access your creativity and you store those visual languages, and you make sense of all of this around you, and you kind of bring it all in and hone it in and channel it from your head to your heart to your hands, and then you make something that's genuinely yours. I feel like there's so many opportunities to take shortcuts, and it's easy to copy or imitate or whatever. And while those can be useful as learning tools, I feel like if you're going to do something and you're going to make it and it's going to be from yourself, you should use this process of distilling all of these visual languages and make it your own. And I feel like if somebody sees work from somebody who digs deep and works from a place of, genuine joy and, self-expression, you can tell. I described it once as a rootless tree. It may look really healthy and vibrant on the top, but there's no roots on somebody who's copying or imitating, and it just falls over. When it's put up to scrutiny, it just falls over because there's no soul to it. It may look like it. It may look, like there's more there than there really is, But I feel like when you connect with your genuine creativity, or your muses or what have you, you have a potential to make something that's truly impactful and speaks your voice with your voice. So I always encourage people to do that. So take time for yourself to create every day. And the unboxing, the 30-day or 31-day challenge.
Beat in the new year.
Beat in the new year with Allegory Gallery. Hashtag Beat in the New Year. You can go to the website www.allegorygallery.com and you'll see the calendar right there on the front. Is it called a homepage still? Okay, you can see on a homepage. You can see how tech savvy I am now. So if you're just joining us, what we're doing is an unboxing video for our latest kit. There are 10 kits available.
9 now.
9 now. The kit is called Love Letters and was based off of a short story. It's made up of a mix of creams, reds, burgundies, and gold. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to embellish this wooden pendant. We oftentimes get questions about how to customize these wooden pendants. You can certainly use them the way they are. Some of the wood grains look really nice just the way they are. The walnut particularly, I love that one. It's got such a nice warmth to it. And with some of the lighter, with some of the etched designs, the lighter wood and the contrast between that, I think really makes it pop. So you can certainly use them without any embellishment, but if you do decide to do any kind of embellishing, there are a couple of ideas that we've got that you might be interested in. Now, if you've tuned in before on the unboxing, you can scroll back to our YouTube channel and watch old unboxing videos, and we've done everything from painting to embossing with embossing powders, and I think we did copper leaf. Did we do copper leaf?
I think, yeah, you did with the gazebo or the bandstand.
Okay, so then I know I did it, but I don't remember if we did a video of it.
Stamping, right? Or what did Laurel did that with heat when was that the embossing?
Mm-hmm. So we did a bunch of different techniques. And there's more. I mean, there's so many things. If you're a mixed media artist, this is a perfect opportunity to make kind of your own, take your own persuasion and make it really yours. You can find the whole selection of our wooden pendants, not this one because this one's only in our kit so far. If you go to www.allegorygallery.com and you go to the online store, you'll be able to see all of the wooden pendants. And the wooden pendants is actually one of our 31-day prompts. I don't remember what day, so like 20-something.
It's in the 20s.
We tried to make it kind of towards the end, so if you didn't have a wooden pendant, you can go out and get one. And they're available in store. And if you go to Tucson, you'll see me at the Whole Bead Show. I'll be set up with Green Girl Studios. I'll have some of my stuff out on a table. We ordered a fancy light. So Santa came a little late this year, but at least it got here. It's actually going to Asheville because I'm going to be taking the road trip with Cynthia. But anyway, so we're here today to do the unboxing video, and I'm going to embellish this wooden pendant. Now, if you work with resin, you might end up with some of these scuzzy cups. And I don't know how to better describe this, but you mix your resin up, and for whatever reason, the inside is yuck. And you may be like, well, I'll just throw that in the garbage. And you might very well do that, and that would be perfectly fine. But what I do before I throw it is I give it a second life by flipping it over and using it for putting paints. Now today I'm using a vintage patina. The patina paints are a little bit different. They will adhere to different different surfaces. You can do metal, plastic, wood, all kinds of goodies. And it's got a little bit of a different property. If you heat set it, it becomes super strong. So after we were done filming, I'm popping in the oven, and yeah, do some little bit. To use this and use it effectively, you're going to use a dry brush. If you use a wet brush, it's going to make the patina paint curdle, and it will make you sad, and you're going to glop it on, and you're going to say, this doesn't look good. Why did I do this to myself? What am I doing? Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing in life? And you're going to be sad and cry in a cup, and that will be a sad thing too.
Emily Hoffman Spear says, I think I bought those after watching you on a television segment and couldn't remember why.
Oh, good. Well, yes, that could be true. I've been on Beads, Baubles, and Jewels, a PBS show, and I've also been on Make It Artsy, and I think those are the two main ones. And those ones I did resin, and I did patinas, and did different pigments and different paints. And if you go to, I don't know if the segments are on our YouTube channel or not. For the Beads, Baubles, and Jewels. If you go to my personal one, they are. I don't even know how to suggest that, but I guess if you, because you have to have so many followers, and we've really kind of dedicated our energy towards the store and less on my personal branding. So if you go into YouTube and type in Andrew Thornton, that's Thornton. If you forget the N, it may not come up. And you type in beads, it'll more than likely come up. If not, it'll be like a racehorse jockey. And there's a guy who's trying to ban plastics in stores in the UK and serve squirrel meat. And there's also a guy who died from drinking too much water. So you'll find some. Yes, there's many Andrew Thorntons out there in the world, and some of them are, very prestigious, and some of them you just wonder, what are you doing with your life, and why are you making things like this pop up when you search for my name? It's sad. Go by Andy or something. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just embellish this. Now I'm going to put a little bit of the patina, or the vintage patina. I've got two colors. I've got a Victorian gold, and I've got a white gold. And they're a little bit different. And the Victorian gold is a little bit more yellow, and the white gold is a little more white. It's got a little bit of a silvery kind of tint to it. So I'm going to mix these and then just apply it evenly. The nice thing about these paints, because they're pretty much paints, real patinas are chemical reactions on the surface. Christy Friesen has a great line of actual patinas where the metals or what have you have a chemical reaction.
Emily says, now I'll know what to do with them again.
Oh, yes.
And she finally did a resin for the first time tonight.
Oh, how did it turn out? Post pictures. We'd love to see. Also, I know you do ceramics, and you can use these on matte velour ceramics, and you can also use them on...
She says, can you color resin with those? She also has alcohol inks.
So there's a bit of a debate going on about this. So when I started using resin, we never added any kind of liquid to color the resin. There are ways of tinting the resin. If you use Pearl-Ex or a metallic pigment powder, if you have chalk pastels, you can shave it down fine, and you can use real pigments from stones. If you're looking for pigments, there's I don't know if they're still around, but Kramer Pigments in New York is one of the meccas of pigments. At least it was when I was in art school. You can, I think Daniel Smith sells pigment powders that are gemstone pigment powders. If you research making your own oil paints, they'll come up. And you can tint them with that and have no problem. But when you add liquids, it can be dicey. Unless it's a urethane dye that's designed specifically for resin, then I would say skip it. There are some people that say if you use a liquid in it, you can add more hardener, and the addition of the additional hardener will make it set up, but I'm not a chemist, and whenever I've done that, I've made some really sticky things. And I don't know about you, but I don't have much use for, sticky time.
And Anna Pearson said she was a little scared to use alcohol inks on the wood pendants.
Why? So alcohol inks, depending on the wood, what kind of wood you get, will have different effects. Now, one of the things you can do is put a layer of this patina paint and then put the alcohol inks on top. Sometimes the binder that they put into the I just lost my train of thought. Sometimes the binder, what was I saying?
Alcohol inks.
Oh, okay. So sometimes with the plywoods, they use a binder and they heat laminate the wood so that, for one, it's consistent, even, it's uniform in size, and it's more readily laserable.
Anna says it would soak in without the paint, I would think.
Yes and no. I mean, it just depends on the effect. So I was saying before that some of the binders that they put into the plywoods can resist the alcohol. So I would suggest doing a test swatch and see how well it works. You can also, one of the things that I love is dyeing things with alcohol inks. So I do a lot of my porcelain, I actually dye it with alcohol inks. And that is one of the techniques that I use, and I like it that it soaks in. I like that it's got a nice deep saturated color, and that it's not just on the surface. I'm going to ask William, can you get me, fill that up with a little bit of water?
Yeah, let me go around my cat. Here,
He's got booby trapped by the cat.
Water?
Yes, please. So while he's doing that, I'm going to bust open my kit, and I'm going to make a really fast project.
Emily had asked, she said, I wonder if I can use them on cast glass. I'm assuming she's thinking the patinas.
Yes.
There's an awesome Buddha mold for casting. I do have lots of pigment powders.
Yes. So, so cast glass is a little bit of a whole thing unto itself. The cast glass is called pâte à verre, and it's basically taking powdered glass, or chunky pieces of glass, and then it's all mixed into a mold. The that's either ceramic or plaster, and the pâte à verre, it's heated up and the glass melts together. And it's a really cool technique, and you can do a lot with it. Now, if you have a surface that's matte, you can definitely do it. So if you sandblast it, or if it's on the mold side of it, usually I'll spray it with a release. There's I can't remember the exact name of the release that I use.
So I'm casting billet glass and grit. I always think about brushing the patina on after firing.
You can. So the frit, which is probably what she meant, is the glass that's kind of crushed up. When it's really crushed up, then it's enameling powder. There's different grades of the powdered glass. So you can add patinas on top of it. I would do a sample and see how durable it is. Heat set it, and then so you would put it on after, definitely after, because if you did it before, you might have some strange stains and mysterious smells coming out of your kiln.
And then she mentioned she wants to do colored porcelain. It doesn't burn off in the kiln? ?
That's a very technical question. So, colored porcelain, to get it to be usually porcelain has a lot of canaline in it, which is usually traditionally white. And to get a colored porcelain, they mix in minerals and coloring agents into the clay body before it's fired, and those produce the color. So it's really chemistry based on what you add to your clays to make it. I've tried experiments with adding glazes to the clay and then remixing it, and that's turned out terrible. So And
then she was saying you said you dyed your porcelain with alcohol inks.
Yes. So what I do is I do 2 firings up to a medium range instead of up to the highest range, because if you heat porcelain super high, it changes almost into glass. So the glass, when it gets like that, it becomes very resistant to absorbing anything. It becomes very translucent. There's a whole, there's books back there that's all about how to get the most translucent porcelain as possible. And those ones, you have to fire them super high and they become glass-like. That is not what you're going to do. If you do that, you're going to put the alcohol ink and it's just going to run right off. So you have to fire it to a medium range. You really have to consult your kiln and your clay and your firing temperature, because all of the clays are all different, and you don't want to have something that's going to be brittle and crack and fall apart. So you want it to be sturdy, but you also want it to be porous. You can use stoneware clays also. Those are more porous, like terracottas and different ones like that. And those ones will soak in the pigments and the alcohol inks. You can also do coats of matte velour glaze, and that can also be helpful for absorption. So while this is drying, I'm going to do a quick project. And are there any other questions out there?
Let's see, maybe I'm not sure if I'm live here on here or not.
So one of the other things that we've got going on in town is a fun event called Ice Fest, and that's the weekend of January 26th and January 27th. I think they're doing something called Ice Fest After Dark.
They are.
I don't really...
They're going to have transportation around town to help people, and the bars and restaurants are going to have specials, and there's going to be music and activities. And I don't think everything's been ironed out quite yet, but they're working on the schedule for that.
That should be fun. I'm not going to be here, but you'll be here.
I'll be here. Finally, I can take part in an after hours. Since we don't get to for the daytime events, don't get to leave the store. Well,
that's true. So if you don't know what our Ice Fest is, they set up sculptures all around town that are carved ice. One year I did an art project where I took Kool-Aid and I dyed the snow. The yellow snow was a little bit weird, but it was really fun. They used to have the kids down at the old Catholic school. They would do ice sculptures in sand castle buckets and stuff, and water balloons, and it was pretty neat. So now if you come around, there's all different kinds of sculptures, and you can see them do like carving in person.
They do speed carving.
And that's pretty exciting. I think we missed the deadline this year to get a sculpture, so maybe next year. They're kind of spendy too, so we're gonna have to set up like a GoFundMe or something. But it's a really cool event, and if you're around, definitely come by to Ligonier, Pennsylvania, and see that. So while I'm working, we're going to have William use his very sultry podcast voice to read the story. And if you didn't know, we actually have a podcast. Amongst the many other things that we do, we have a podcast. So if you go to allegorygallery.com, look for the Allegory Gallery interviews link, and you'll be able to see all of the great interviews that we've done there. We've done, our first one was with Gina Chalfant from Pittsburgh. We had one with Diane Hockey from Detroit, Michigan area. We had one from Liz. She's in Ohio. Liz Chumtong. I've never been able to say it. Saki Silver. And we had one with Nettie Ray. And she, I think, is our latest one. Mm-hmm. We had one with Jen Touchon, which I always say Touchon, but she's like, no, you can leave off the G. So she did one, and we had one with Jen Palmer. And hopefully this weekend, while we're in Asheville, we'll do a few more. And I think we're going to try to do it. So far, we've had it where a lot of the podcasts were oriented around artists and makers who had work in our store, and we wanted to feature those people. And we still want to do that as our main focus, but we thought it might be fun to supplement that with other interviews with makers, just so that there's more of a variety, and we can also... A lot of our makers are spread all across the world, so it's a little bit trickier to kind of do that, on our shoestring budget. This will allow us to do a lot more local artists and be able to work with them that way. So without further ado, Here is Love Letters presented by William Jones.
Let's see, I haven't gotten to read this myself yet. All right.
Surprise!
Okay. This was a surprise reading. She didn't want to be there. The attic was hot and dusty, and it didn't help that she was slightly hungover. Her nose itched and her head was pounding. She fought back waves of nausea every time she bent over or stood up. Her blind date from the night before had imploded on an epic scale, and she had tried to self-medicate with one too many glasses of wine. It was just one more bad date in a long series of bad dates. At least this time she hadn't got into a shouting match over politics or left her phone in the Uber. Maybe she just wasn't cut out for romance. She didn't want to be there, but she had promised her mom that she would help and that they would put off packing up her grandmother's house too many times already. She didn't want to be there, but her mother definitely didn't want to be there. They had a complicated relationship. Her mom always felt as though her grandmother disapproved of her wild ways and bohemian lifestyle, and her choice to raise a daughter on her own instead of settling down. They never had a chance to reconcile before grandmother passed, and now they were cleaning out her house with her mom. They were cleaning out her house, and her mom had to stop to cry every other 5 minutes or argue with ghosts that weren't there. The attic was the last big challenge. A lifetime of memories was stored up there. No one wanted to tackle it, but at least it was quiet, and quiet was exactly what she needed right now. Quiet, a dark room, a soft bed, Advil, and a cold washcloth over her face was what she really needed, but she'd settle for just quiet as she went through rusty steamer trunks, disintegrating cardboard boxes, and creaky wooden fruit boxes. She sneezed. Frantically, she looked for something to clean up her face as the snot dribbled down her chin and mouth. A few minutes before, she had seen a drawer of handkerchiefs and proceeded to pull one out. Underneath the pile of cloth, she felt something hard and rectangular. It was an unassuming jewelry box of white leatherette and had aged to a yellowish cream color. It was cracked in some places, and the gilding was rubbed off in others. A little brass key was stuck in the lock, and she carefully turned it until the lid popped open. The inside was flocked, and she could tell that it was once the color of red wine she drank the night before, but had long since faded. In the middle of the box was a bundle of papers tied up with a red ribbon, still bright and scarlet. The paper was no longer white, but a soft buttercream. They had a floral smell, a heady blend of roses, lavender, orange blossoms, and tea. This perfume mixed with the scent of the attic, wood and dust, and mothballs and age. She knew she didn't really have time, but this was a mystery, and curiosity got the best of her. She shimmied the stack of letters and cards out of the ribbon and proceeded to read. They were love letters and old Valentine's Day cards trimmed in paper lace. Flowers were pressed in some of the pages, and yellowed photographs were tucked between others. The letters were simple. They weren't filled with poetry and a lot of be stills and betwixts. They were letters to and from her grandparents, detailing their lives together and their love together. She never knew her grandfather. He had passed away before she could remember and was a shadowy figure from the past that her grandmother never talked about. She never knew why her grandmother never talked about him. She had imagined some terrible tragedy or a family secret. Now she knew. It wasn't out of hatred or resentment or shame, but because she was heartbroken that she couldn't afford to be sad. The last letter was from her grandmother to her grandfather. He was in the hospital, and she was writing the letter on her break at work. In it, her grandmother thanked her grandfather for a good life together. She wrote about how proud she was of their daughter and how artistic and creative and brave she was. She could almost hear her grandmother's voice saying how she admired her mother for being her own person and so fearless. She also mentioned the weather and how she'd love to air out the winter coats and pick up some bird seeds on the way home. It didn't feel like a last love letter. Despite the sadness and unfair twists of fate, a tomorrow would come where birds were hungry and you didn't want your best winter coat to smell like old attics and mothballs. The world would carry on.
And so that's what I think about in the middle of the night. And it actually kind of popped into my mind because we've been on this big roll of cleaning, and we've been tidying up our home, and it's been kind of one of those things that's, it's kind of emotional in the sense that there are so many memories, and you want to hang on to things that are sentimental, and there's just things that, spark joy. And I would like to think that in this story, if the main character would give the love letters to her mom, and the love letters would kind of heal those old wounds, and hopefully the love letters also restored her faith and romance. At the very least, that she doesn't lose her phone again.
Allison just joined us.
Hello.
She just got home. She was asking what the kit was like.
Oh, good.
She's just tuning in with us.
So the new kit is all different shades of cream and buttercream. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking of old paper. I was thinking of ivory. I was thinking of lace. And the way that age kind of tinges, it kind of dulls the bright kind of white down and makes it a more softer tone. I think it also adds a little bit of richness, which is nice to have. The kit also has shades of burgundy and scarlet, which are kind of traditional Valentine's Day colors. I mean, red hearts, roses are red, violets are blue kind of thing. But I wanted to go on the more opulent side and then pop it with the kind of the more corally pinkish reds of it. And that's kind of the big pop. And then also gold. And I was thinking of, again, I think one of the more rich kind of opulent color schemes is gold and red. And I think that always has a strong connotation for me as being kind of opulent. And who doesn't like opulent love? I mean, if you're going to have a great romance, then make it count, I guess. I don't know. So if you're just tuning in now, we're unboxing our latest kit. Our latest kit is called Love Letters, and it features all kinds of goodies. It is we only made 10 available for the public, so if you would like one, you better hurry because they're already selling. For these special challenge kits, there's no reveal date. And the reason why we did not do reveal dates is so that there is a little bit more flexibility in people's schedules and their ability to make stuff. You can, because we're doing more than just one every 2 months, we want people to not feel so pressured and so committed to a deadline that they get overwhelmed or kind of lost in it. So we have this design group on Facebook that's specifically dedicated to our online challenges. If you go on there right now you'll see our big Beat in the New Year with Allegory Gallery 31-day challenge, and that is going on right now. We're on day 7, almost day 8. I said I couldn't talk for like 2 hours, but here I am, chugging along. Right now we're in the swing of that. Our first challenge of the 31-day challenge is earrings. Make a pair of earrings. And I haven't really had a chance to play along as much as I would like because we've been getting ready for this big trip, and there's some other kind of outstanding commitments that I've had to deal with. And then also, when you're the host of a party, I kind of feel like your main job is to make sure that others are having a positive experience, and that they're having a good time. And so yeah, so make a pair of earrings. Here you go. And if you like this beadboard, it's from Stephanie Sursich, Steph's favorite beading board. And this is really fun. It's really useful for the technique that she does. She does this kind of braiding technique. And it's perfect for that. I just like it as a background because the fabric is so pretty. But yeah, so also we've got this fun little critter creature thing that I've made that's not really a critter or a creature. It's one of our laser cut wooden pendants that I've embellished with vintage patina paints. And I will set this in the oven before I use it. And what I also will probably do is I really like texture, so I'll probably go over it again and mix something in, like grit or something. I think I have a mica flake in there, and I'll put that in there and crunch it up and make it a little bit more crunchy and crusty. And I think that also gives it a little bit more character. We've had a lot of people kind of scratch their heads and say, so what do I do with this? And that's one of the things that you can do. And you can go wild with these. I mean, you can really, they have one that are called opals, and they kind of add color in the recessed areas, and you can really have fun. Those work better, I feel, with the engraved pendants. Now, the pendants that I'm talking about, if you're not familiar, is at allegorygallery.com, and if you go to the online store, you can see a wonderful world of wooden pendants. I don't think we posted too many acrylic things yet, but we will have more acrylic, and we have some fun projects in the works. So hopefully we'll have those soon to debut. So one of the main tips and tricks for success for working with these patina paints is to use a dry brush when you're working with the paint. If you use a wet brush, it will make the paint curdle. So once you're finished, wash your brush out. And yeah, so pardon me. So I feel as though if I sit down and do a necklace or something like that, we're going to be here for another hour. And while I would love to spend the evening with you all and have fun, we are leaving tomorrow. And I'm just envisioning the trip getting longer and longer and longer. So with that, I think, do you have anything that you'd like to?
I think you covered it.
I've been talking for almost 2 hours. I think I've covered a lot of stuff. Just an hour. Well, that's still a lot. So if you are going to be in Tucson, come see me and Cynthia. We're going to be at the Whole Bead Show from February 1st to February 5th. We'll also be doing an event with Candy Cooper and with Beads of Courage.
You're going to be busy.
I know. And hopefully squeeze in some hikes and some shopping and having a good time.
Emily says thanks for the tips.
Hopefully they're useful. If you ever have any questions, just let us know. You can always ask us during the unboxing sessions now that we're doing them more regularly. I do not recommend messaging me on Facebook or Twitter or DMing me on Instagram. If you do that, there is a strong probability that I won't respond. And I'm not saying this to be hateful, but I've turned all of those things off. And the reason why I've done that is because If I get notifications on my phone, there's never ending story, and I have them turned off. So I would never get anything done at all, ever in my whole entire life, if I had my notifications on, because my phone would be bing, 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 and it would drive me crazy, and I would smash the phone, and then I would cry into the broken shards of the phone.
That's not good.
And then William would leave me for desecrating an Apple product, and everybody would be crying and it would be sad. So do not message me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Mahalo.
He has no Snapchat.
I probably do, but I've never used it. I'm like one of the elderly who's like, why am I going to work hard and put this effort into creating content that's going to be gone in 24 hours?
Truth.
I'm not showing any private parts. I don't need to, whatever. All them young people getting wild. You treat yourself, but, I think I'm a little bit too old school for that. So anyways, don't message me. If you have a question or a concern, you can approach it when we're doing a live event like this, or you can also email us. If you email us, you will more than likely get a response, unless you're spam. If you're spam, then you go to the spam box. But if you want to reach us, email us at info@allegorygallery.com. Again, if you message me, it's a strong probability that if I don't really know you, then I'm going to be like this. Who's this? Don't know. I didn't see anything. It's going to be like Bird Box. Where's my blindfold? And people be like, why you don't message me? I said, I told you. I don't check them. So please, 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 if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, go to our email address and email us there.
Anna says, black hole of personal messages.
It's true. Well, what ends up happening is it's kind of a snowball effect where I'm wordy, if you couldn't tell. So I spend a lot of time responding to people. And then when I finish that, then usually somebody else, it goes into something else. Oh, Barnaby, he's going to be an internet sensation. He's going to say hi. Say hi, Barnaby. He's my little ragdoll baby. And I can just squeeze him and hug him and make him love me for all the times. So this is what I do. Now, I would like to say that I do this all day, but usually I get like only a few minutes of it, of sweetness and joy. And then the rest is working in the sweatshop.
Nettie said drive safe. Paula, safe travels. Lily said thank you. She had fun watching. Dale Switzer is going to be in Tucson, says look forward to meeting you there.
Oh, fun.
And Beads of Courage is something she wants to investigate more. Oh,
great. They're a super awesome organization. The premise is that children with serious illnesses and like heart disease or cancer, they go through so many treatments. And some of the kids just don't have a way of communicating their story, which is really, if you think about power and personal power and claiming yourself, owning your story is a big part of that. And sometimes the kids, they're babies, they don't have a way of communicating that. And it can be really hard for the parents and for the siblings and for the families and for the child to not have this vocabulary. So beading, they get a bead for every treatment that they have. And some of the kids, it stretches across the room. I met one of the moms and she had this huge handful beaded ropes, and I just broke down in tears because I'm getting a little bit misty-eyed thinking about it, because the kids go through so much, and it's such a hard. It's a really hard thing. When you as an adult, I'm a survivor of cancer, and it was hard as an adult, and I had a way of communicating, and I had a support group, and I was able to communicate. But these kids, a lot of them are very isolated. Their illness kind of segregates them from the healthy kids and the sick kids. The broken and the unbroken. And it's one of those things where Beads of Courage is an amazing organization that empowers children and families to heal and tell their stories. Sometimes, the kids don't make it, and, that's what they have after. They have, they have this story that they can touch and hold and connect to their child or sibling who's passed on. And it's a way for them to kind of have a touchstone and a point of connection. And it's an amazing organization. Jean and all of the staff and volunteers, they do such important work. And I love them so much. And I can't support them enough. I love them so much. If they need a kidney, mine are probably not so great, but you can have them if you can find a use or sell them on the black market. Anyways, so if you are in Tucson, definitely check out the Beads of Courage event. If you are not, go to their website. It's beadsofcourage.org, I believe. And you can go directly to them. They're doing fundraising all year round. You don't have to necessarily give money. You can do handmade beads. There's all different kinds of ways of contributing. There are groups that are specifically designated for your region. I'm in the Mid-Atlantic region, but there are so many different opportunities for you to help out and contribute. If you are on Facebook and you have a birthday coming up, you can do a fundraiser and designate Beads of Courage as the recipient of your fundraiser. And they do a lot of different programs. They do a carry a bead program where they have different people get beads, do amazing things, tell a story, and then bring that story back to the kids. Some of the kids, they can't walk or they're hospital bound, and they don't get a chance to bike across the country or visit the Eiffel Tower, or there's just a lot of things that physically they're just not capable of doing.
You can also donate on Amazon Smile too.
Like William said, you can donate on Amazon Smile. There's so many different ways to contribute to Beads of Courage, and they do all kinds of wonderful programs. If you're in Tucson, they have a monthly full moon party. They're in this really cool area called the Metal Arts Village, and it's basically a cul-de-sac of studios. There's a really cool little bar in there that's like a brewery type place, and there's food, and it's a really great community of creative people. I think they've got yoga, and they've got all kinds of stuff, and they do events all the time. So if you're in Tucson, check them out. If you're online, also check them out. And if you're on neither of them, I don't know how you're seeing this, but you should check them out anyway.
Kelly's Bead Boutique says, "Hey fellas."
Oh, hello, Kelly. We'll see you, I'll see you in Tucson. If you don't know Kelly, she's got a great little shop in Canada. And if you are there in Canada, Canada's pretty big, so you're going to have to maybe Google it, because I think they just moved shops. I don't know the address, because I memorized all the addresses of all the shops. But
That was a day.
Do what?
There was a day when you nearly did.
Yeah, I'm pretty good still. I can narrow it down at least to a country, sometimes a state, sometimes even a city. But nowadays, there's so much clutter in my brain. I'm gonna have to recondo my brain.
They're on the West Coast, she says. They have a huge store on the West Coast.
Is it in British Columbia? Vancouver? I'm pulling
Start
stuff.
naming them all.
But anyways, yeah, I've seen that place on the house shows where they're like, I'm a poet and my budget is 85 million, and then they get the shack, and then
She says, yep.
See, there you go. I'm not completely out of touch. We watch Flash sometimes, and Arrow and Supergirl, and they're all filmed under that one bridge in Vancouver, I think, which is pretty funny. I guess there's a big movie scene there. I didn't really realize that, but somebody was saying that there's this bustling movie industry there where they film different TV shows and movies and stuff.
She's laughing. 85 million will buy you about a 1-bedroom here.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like, like a shack, a 1-bedroom shack. That's like when I was looking out of curiosity to be closer to my sister in Asheville. I put our budget that we had here, and it pulled up this like crystal meth shack that was out in the boondocks and looked questionable, and like the person who burned down their little hut would come back and then burn down you. So I was like, so Cynthia, unless we're like gonna like do it Filipino style and like add on to the house, shantytown style, is this unlikely that we'll ever be able to do that. Kelly, if you ever get tired of the expensive $85 million thing, you can always cash out and come to Ligonier. You can have a whole town, Ligonier too, for 85 million. We've got our house was what, 150,000 area, and it's a 3-bedroom. Our neighbors are selling. I think they're still selling. They're trying to move to a new house, but it's contingent on them selling their current house. So our very nice neighbors, with their lovely home, is on the market. I think it's 170, 160, somewhere. If you Google that.
She said I would be a millionaire there.
You would. You could join the country clubs. There's many to choose from. There's even a chance to have your own bead store here. Kelly's Allegory Gallery Bead Boutique.
Oh my.
A very good price. No, I think we'll do this until we're tired and infirmed and can't get around and be crotchety and
even if we do other things too.
Yes, we'll do other things, but I think this is a baby of a love baby. I don't know what it's a labor of love. Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. And I always tell people who are thinking of starting a bead store, well, I always wonder if, they're fully mentally all there, because it's hard. I could go into hours and hours of talking about how difficult being a small business owner is. But being a niche small business owner that deals specifically in the craft industry can be very, very difficult. And we're super fortunate, knock on wood, that we have a really supportive network of people who believe in us.
Allison says, just like people who want to open a restaurant.
Yeah, you'll never see me open a restaurant. I like to cook, and I definitely probably wouldn't like to cook after that. I used to work in the restaurant industry, and I, when I was younger, it was fine. I worked really crazy hours, and it was very stressful. And I still have nightmares about the expo station with tickets backing up. And it literally just makes my heart race just thinking about that. So you'll never see a restaurant from me.
Says you gotta wonder how their mental health is.
Yes. If you ever do see me with a restaurant, it's gonna be called No Substitutions. It's all gonna be food that's cooked beforehand. You don't get to pick anything. You put the money. You don't talk. You get slid a food. It comes when it comes. If you talk, the curtain goes down. And then we would not be in business either.
Maybe. Who knows?
It would be like
People
Soup
might
Nazi,
like that.
except I don't have that kind of energy to be that no soup for you. It would just be like, I'm gonna go in the corner and like quietly rock back and forth with tears streaming down my face. If you have any questions or comments, email us at info@allegorygallery.com. But no, being a bead store owner is one of the best and worst things ever. It's one of the best things because we've really set down roots and formed relationships and connections with people who are amazing, and we've seen them flourish and kind of own their own voices, and
sometimes their own businesses.
They've started there are many businesses that have started in the humble beginnings of Allegory Gallery. It's kind of like Kendra Scott, who's this really super famous, super wealthy, has more money than Beyonce kind of action story. And she started out in a bead store, a local bead store. She went to learn to make jewelry, and now she's got shops all over the world, which is pretty amazing. But so we've been a part of this community, and we've been able to share things that are really amazing. I think one of the things about beads is that they're one of the oldest hallmarks of human civilization, and there's a reason why people are still fascinated with beads, because they tell a story. Each one of the beads was made by somebody somewhere, and they all have stories. And whether you know them or not, whether you're cognitive of
he sees you and then he sees you. He doesn't know what to think.
Oh, Barnaby is getting confused. He's watching the live and then
on my iPad.
It's pretty cute. But anyways, so beads have this amazing potential for self-expression. And self-expression in any form, whether you're painting, sculpting, dancing, performing, singing, there's so many different outlets of creativity. But beads are one of those things that's so personal because it's a part of, it's a part of your body. It becomes part of your language that you speak silently, and, in a way that communicates. Oh, he's attacking the screen. I guess he doesn't like this talk about the silent communication. But no, beads are one of those things where personal adornment is so personal. It's a voice of expression, and it's a voice of creativity, and we feel really honored to be a part of that. Now, on the flip side, it can be very, very precarious.
She always says it's not for the faint of heart.
No. Even if you have a sturdy heart, you might not be as sturdy afterward. It requires a lot of long hours. It requires a lot of dedication.
I always laugh when people say you're open 10 to 4. You get a short day every day. That must be nice.
Oh, yeah, no. There's no short days. I think neither of us has gone to bed earlier than 4 o'clock in the morning because we're working all the time. And it's like a duck that paddles. I mean, it may look calm and smooth on the surface, but underneath, they're paddling like heck. And for us, and maybe in a different location, you might have a little bit better opportunities. But in rural southwestern Pennsylvania, with a population of 1,500 people, on paper, our business should not work. It's one of those ones that, because of the online following and because of our ability to reach out, we've got a pretty much of an hour radius around our store, which is kind of changing, but whatever. Which is another challenge, but whatever. So we've been really lucky to tap into that, and it's very educationally oriented.
Lily says, do you ever feel like a duck with only one leg paddling?
I feel like a duck with no legs paddling sometimes, and it's a bunch of duck butt waggling like you're gonna lose something. But
Kelly says it works because you are fabulous.
Well, you too. Kelly does a lot of the videos too. So if you go to her Facebook page, you can see all of her fun tutorials and all kinds of goodness. And she's got a really fabulous community of bead artists. Carrie and Stephanie and all of them up there, they're really wonderful, and I just love them to pieces. And I wish that we could invent some kind of Narnia-esque door that could travel in between, and we could hang out more regularly, because I think we would have a lot of fun. But back to the challenges, it's not just time, and it's not just the energy or the money. It's a combination of all of those things where you really it has to be a labor of love, and it has to be one of those things that's a true calling. If you think that it's fun, it's popular, oh, it'll be neat, just make stuff and, give it away, because some days it feels like that. But if you've got that passion, I'm sure you could talk to Kelly, or you could talk to me, and we can help steer you in starting your own business, or buying Allegory Gallery and having me retire early. I probably won't be going to Canada with the money, but maybe like Honduras, I could probably get a place there,
Maybe we'll make it to Portugal.
Portugal. I've seen on Escape to the Country. There's houses
relatively inexpensive.
$50,000.
Very good LGBTQ laws.
Yeah, who wants to get hit in the back of the head with a brick? Not me. And I shouldn't scare people, because I don't want there to be any rumblings. Oh, he's trying to sell the store. If somebody offered a price, I'll sell it. Everything's got a price.
We got other ideas.
Yeah, I'll help you. I'll work for free for a while. Not a long while, but for a while. Because I pretty much work for free now. But, which doesn't sound as encouraging for a business. But you never know. You could do wonders. Small businesses, if you are thinking about starting a small business, I recommend going to your local SCORE chapter. If you go to score.org, it's a small business resource where retired professionals offer, and mostly retired, some of them are still active, but it's a volunteer organization that they've been going for over 50 years, and they give free advice on how to run a small business. When we started this small business, we had this loose idea of how things worked, and we had our backgrounds in working for other people, but we didn't really have the technical knowledge behind that. And so it was a real doozy in the first couple of years, because we didn't really know what we were doing. So we kind of had to, do everything not only on a shoestring budget, but we had to really be inventive with how to make things work, and we had to figure out things. And luckily William likes spreadsheets, but at that time he had another job, so he couldn't devote as much time. So it was definitely one of those things where we had to learn, kind of hit the ground running. And I think we've gotten a pretty good grasp. I mean, this has really devolved from our unboxing video into our small business talk. But yeah, beads, I guess, is the only connector. I'm like, how did we get on that? I guess I could rewind and watch it. And it was like a half hour ago. I was like, I gotta go to sleep. Which really means go back to work, change into the comfort clothes, and then work some more until the early light of morning crests, and then drive. But so anyways, we're here. There's probably, I'm guessing maybe half the kits left. Usually we don't get a big push until after we start posting the direct links. If you would like to get one of the Love Letters Special Challenge Design Kits, go to allegorygallery.com and go to the online store, and you'll see a link right there for your shopping convenience and pleasure. You don't have a deadline for this one. You can do whatever you can use as much or as little as you want in your creation. Sometimes you can make multiple things. I've seen people make a whole collection. I was like, dang, that's a lot of beads in there. But you can definitely use as much or as little as you'd like. And if you're interested, I wrote a little short story to go along with it. I cried a little bit when I was writing it, so hopefully you'll enjoy that, and hopefully you'll have fun. So once again, go to allegorygallery.com, go to the online store, scroll down, and find the Love Letters Design Kit Challenge. And if you're in Tucson, come and see us at the Old Bead Show. And if you're in Ligonier on the 26th and 27th, stop by during Ice Fest. And yeah, that's about it. So from our home studio in Ligonier, Pennsylvania, I'm going to say goodbye.